Time for the 49ers Rush Podcast.
All right, we are to number 69. Nice. On the 49ers roster countdown for 2023. And we have wide receiver Tay Martin, who was in a similar position last year. We had him on last year's roster countdown at 68. Here he is at 69. Shout out to Josh, the 49ers guru, for putting this together and doing a lot of this research, which he's just done so hell of a job. Now, the full name is Devontavion Martin. He goes by Tay. And this is going to be a little bit of a heavier episode. You dig into these young men's backstory and kind of, where they came from. And sometimes you find what you like and sometimes you don't. And sometimes it's hard. But this is life. And this is what makes up a football team, and what this kid has gone through. Just incredible. Just durability, perseverance, all those things. There's a quote later on we'll get to that he says, my life is a movie. I really do believe that it was made for that because of just the tragedy and overcoming so many obstacles and all those things. Now, who is he as a player? He was brought on last year as an undrafted free agent, stuck around, and actually got 2 appearances, played in 2 different games, and we'll break down all of that. But who is he? Wears jersey number 86. He's big, 6'3", 185, so you've got that kind of tall, slender build, 32 and 3/8 inch arms, shorter arms for a bigger guy. He's 25 years old. He ran a 4.58 40 at the pro day, did not get invited to the combine. 1.54 10-yard, not great. 7-second 3-cone. That's pretty good for a 6'3 guy. So you're getting the change of direction from this taller wide receiver. And I'll just be honest, I'll skip to it now. This is the Juwan Jennings replacement plan. He's the Juwan Jennings. The snaps that he did get in his 2 games were all in the slot. That's kind of where he plays. He can't play outside, but he's not really the biggest deep threat. He's much more of a contested catches, big body specialty going over the middle. That's what the metrics say. Now, he wasn't that in college, and he played for 2 colleges, Washington State, then Oklahoma State. He was more of an outside guy, but since the 49ers have brought him in, they want him playing that big slot role. 36-inch vertical, pretty good for a big guy. 9-foot, 9-inch broad jump, that's average. Didn't do the bench press or anything along those lines. Now, he is from South Louisiana. Went to Ellender Memorial High School, which is south of New Orleans. Bayou. Which is interesting because there's other teammates that he has from pretty much the same damn area. Elijah Mitchell went to Erath County School, and so, again, you're talking Bayou, man. Farmland, just south. Was a 3-star recruit, and in high school, it wasn't easy for him. Now, football was easy. Track was easy. Basketball was easy. Dude was a stud. Made All-State, 4A All-State for the state of Louisiana. He was the number 32 prospect coming out of Louisiana football. He had 45 catches, 751 yards, 8 touchdowns his senior season with 493 rush yards and 5 rushing touchdowns with 36 tackles, 2 picks. Dude just was everywhere. State, track standout, high jump, all that kind of stuff. Basketball all-star. He was going... He was, again, 4-year letterman in basketball, track, and football. This dude, he just was an athlete. Now, he was going to go to Tulane, the local. It's a private school, but it's in New Orleans. I think it's in Baton Rouge, but anyway, Southern Louisiana. And he was getting recruited as a 2-sport athlete to play basketball and football. That's how dynamic Tay Martin is. But during that process, things started to kind of unravel. Not necessarily for him. He woke up one morning, he found his mother passed away from cardiac arrest. Quote, "It was a normal day at school, and she always woke me up. I was a big boy, but she always woke me up. She would bang on my door, and I was waiting on that. I woke up on my own that day. Came out, she was just sitting there in the living room and was cold. I knew it was too late." So definitely not easy. Now, to complicate things further, he had 2 little sisters and a younger brother that were there. Father was in prison on a hit-and-run accident. So he went from high school athlete to dad raising kids like that. and was able to maintain high academic standards, was able to do all those things. And during that process, he decided to change his commitment to do what was best for him, hang up the basketball shoes, and go to Washington State and play with Mike Leach, the great Mike Leach, the late, great Mike Leach. Goes up there and performs unbelievably well. Just dominated from start to finish, showed up, started as, right off the bat, played 36 games for Washington and was great. However, sad thing was, tragedy followed him there as well. One of his close friends and quarterback, Tyler Helinski, committed suicide on campus. Not a healthy thing whatsoever. That hurt. Then you had, on top of that, the pandemic comes through, and then his next friend, Bryce Beekman, overdoses on fentanyl, who was a defensive back on the team. So losing not one teammate, but two teammates. Then the Pac-12 cancels their season, so now he doesn't even have football. He's trying to get to the pros to support his family, puts in a petition to transfer to Oklahoma State. And he had a lot of options. But when Pac-12 canceled everything, he had to put tape out. He's trying to make it to the pros, right? So then he transfers to Oklahoma State. NCAA grants him that. He goes there. And this is where things start to change. During this time as well, he has his own child. And so now he's a true dad, also raising little siblings, losing friends, losing parents. Definitely not an easy life. He says, quote, "Me losing Beekman, the defensive back who overdosed, was another eye-opener, and I was tired of losing people. I wanted to be there for my family, be closer. I wanted them to be able to come to my games so they could see me play." So he transfers to Oklahoma State, and once he got there, it didn't take long. I mean, he showed up and was the guy. Had a great career, absolutely incredible career. Was 2021 second team All Big 12, became the 10th player in school history for a 1,000-yard season, finished his career with 2,810 yards, 28 receiving touchdowns, 238 catches, 8 100-yard receiving games, and combined with his time at Washington and Oklahoma State, I mean, it's just unbelievable. The numbers are 3rd in receiving touchdowns, 4th in catches, 14 receiving yards, 24 100-yard games, all among active FBS players. So those are his ranks among all college players that were still playing. Like, this dude just crushed it. Now, he does have a daughter. Her name is Rain Christine Martin. Sorry if I mispronounced that. Born February 2019. This is a 25-year-old that is well beyond that as far as what life has dealt him and what he has gone through. Now, probably one of my favorite quotes that I found was, tragedy is weird, right? And, I've been a football coach, I've been a football player, and I've been around, and, for me, football was everything growing. That's how I stayed out of trouble was, I can go do this, but we got practice in the morning, we got weights in the morning, and so you learn this discipline and camaraderie and all those things. And so how do you respond to things? Like, that is the true measure of a man. Well, Tay has it in spades. This dude's incredible. Quote, "Every time I get on the field, I talk to my mom, I talk to Tyler, I talk to Bryce, just praying to them to be with me, and I've got them. I won't let them down." Like, good Lord. To go through all of this and to use that as motivation, whew, man, what an awesome guy. And, I use the term probably too often, all their kids. He's 25 years old. This is a grown man. This is a grown man, and just nothing but respect for this guy. And, when we started doing this last year, right, we did 90 episodes last year. We're doing 91 this year. And the whole idea was, it started with the question, how do we create a better fan experience, right? That's what we do at the 49ers Rush. We want to build community, and we want to create a better fan experience. So you watching this video, the whole idea, or listening to this audio, the whole idea is when you see Tay Martin on the field, it should change you, right? It should do something to your brain or your feelings, something like that. And I don't like tugging on emotional strings, but good God, how amazing is it that we get to watch this man compete and fight for a damn job? And I mean that in the best of ways, because these stories should transform us. And so I always laugh because people are like, preseason games, I don't really care. And I'm in the back of my mind like, don't really care? You got guys like Tay Martin out there that are fighting for their family and fighting for the past trauma that they've overcome. How do you not care? Yeah, it's grown men throwing a ball, but this is an avenue in which people can overcome and triumph over terrible, terrible tragedies. Love this guy. Never met him. Probably never will. But gosh, man, Tay, you are incredible. And not that he's watching this or whatever, but this is why we do this. And it just brings so much more texture to who this 49ers team is. You cannot tell me that the 49ers locker room is not impacted, whether he's on the field or not. You mean tell me that wide receiver room's not impacted by getting to know this man? I don't know. Anyway, let's get back to football. In college, he performed admirably well. You look at his career, again, we kind of talked about his career stats, but 238 receptions, 2,810 receiving yards, 11.8 yards per catch, 28 touchdowns, and 1 rushing touchdown. Played 36 games for Washington State and probably would have stayed there if not for COVID and all that stuff and all the complications that we went through, we talked about. He goes to OSU, 17 games there. Now, negatives. There are negatives in his game. He drops the ball too dang much. He had 22 career drops. Now, that is a very alarming number, but you have to look. He had 238 career receptions. So it's still an issue that he's got to get over, and I'm just going to be honest with you. The 49ers scouting department, Kyle Shanahan, don't give a damn about drops. Look at Juwan Jennings. Look at Kendrick Bourne. Look at Debo, who's led the NFL in drops, I think, twice now. Like, if you can make plays, they can overlook that. 30 career missed tackles forced, not a lot. 4.3 yards after the catch per reception, not a lot. He's not a huge yak guy. But where he does win, and I thought this was probably my favorite metric, looking at his play through PFF and all those things. Last 2 years, he had a 53.8 percentage and 60% catch rate the last 2 years in college. He is a tough, slender, tall body that does not mind going over the middle, doesn't mind small spaces, doesn't mind any of those things. He will go and get hit and be just fine and still bring in the catch. Now, last year, most of his playing time last year was preseason. We'll talk about that. But he did make 2 game appearances. He appeared in Week 8, only got 6 snaps, 1 at wide receiver, 1 snap, but 5 on kickoff kick coverage, which when players get promoted to the active roster on game day, I know a lot of times it just flies by the radar. I cannot tell you the financial compensation and the difference that this makes for guys like Tay Martin. It's life-changing. It really, really is. And so it's 6 snaps. It's not much, right? But trust me, it changes things. It changes lives. Week 17, they kind of threw him a bone, which I really, really like. One of my favorite things about Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch is they understand that there are sometimes opportunities. They did this with Nate Sudfeld the prior year where they promoted him. They do this to players to help them out and reward them and let them know, look, we want you back here. So the last game of the season, they promote him up. He got 16 snaps. 8 of those were 16 all special teams, 8 on kick coverage, 7 on kick return, 1 on punt return. But here's the difference, okay? So those 2 games gave him a very smooth raise. So, for example, if he did not get promoted from the practice squad in those 2 games, he would have made $131,000 for the year, which isn't bad. I'm not trying to knock that. However, by getting promoted those 2 games, it's almost like an extra $100,000 every time that happened. So he went from $131,000 last year to $338,000. You see the difference? I mean, it's about $100,000 difference per game he got called up, which, making $338K, that's awesome. And if he can continue that, I really hope nothing but the best for him financially and his family. I hope it continues. But life for these guys on the undrafted free agent, average NFL career is 2.2 years. That's average. We always think about Kittles and Jimmy Wards and whatever else. That's not average. Those are the elite. Those are the ones that cash in. And Tay Martin's still got to claim it. Now, he did play in the preseason in 2 games. He got 42 snaps, 33 at wide receiver, the rest at special teams. And again, this is why the Niners like him. He finished with an 89.8 run blocking grade. 89.8. 90 is elite, all-pro level. Like, now it's only 16 snaps, small sample size, but the dude will block. So you got a big body. He doesn't mind going over the middle doing dirty work, and he will run block. That's Kyle Shanahan. The one issue that probably he doesn't have is the yards after the catch and all that, but that's okay. He had 2 catches on 3 targets in the preseason for 7 yards, all out of the slot. Like I keep saying, Jauan Jennings, insurance player. Now, what's likely for him? The Niners are not happy with the back end of their wide receiver roster. To start their 91-man roster, they had 12, at one time 13 wide receivers. They started cutting them. Tay Martin's not one of them yet. They brought in Isaiah Winstead, the internet sensation, and I'm just going to be honest with you. These 2 guys are competing for that backup Jauan Jennings big slot role. So there's competition here. Tay Martin, Isaiah Winstead, we already did his show if you want to go back and check that out. But that's kind of where we are. Tay Martin, I don't know how people could watch, listen, hear, read his story and not be impacted. And it's awesome. Yeah, I'm a better person for learning his story. And when number 86, Tay Martin, goes out there in the field in the preseason, I'm going to be paying damn close attention because I want to see what he can do. Excited for this young man and thankful that he has shared his story with so many different outlets. That's why we were able to find it. And I just want to see him be successful. So for us, we're going to continue. And whatever you're going through in your damn day, whatever it is, and it could suck, and I'm sorry, fight through that. Fight through it, man. Just like Tay does. Just keep going. Do what's best for you and your family. And for us, we'll just keep counting them down.